Guys, this week on the 100K pod, we do it a little bit differently. We preview the games, we go through a few different segments, and we have Joey help preview the prelim final weekend. So it's awesome.
As usual, we try and turn $10 into a 100K bet on the footy. And we need a forward for this week. Who's the one, Joey?
Well, Arioli's the man.
Beautiful. Let's go the Smalls. You! Welcome back to the show that's beyond excited for prelim week. The show that acknowledges that the Giants' fourth quarter in finals at Cheeks. The show that's at the pub on a Wednesday having a couple of scowies. And Jev and Morgs are flying up to Sydney on Friday to watch the showies. The show that applauds Brisbane as they came back from the brink. Also, how about the carry on with the 20K fine for Ken Hink? We're only a few nights away for our 4-hour Brownlow show, which we can admit we are a little bit toey. And of course, tonight we will be joined by Joey. Yes. Welcome back to the 100K Footy Show, where each week we try and turn $10 into 100K, punting on the footy, brought to you by Soul Bevy, powered by Bay Juice. Guys, good to be back. We are here at the Montague Hotel. Jev, how are you?
Oh, great introduction, us. I'm up and about. It's a bit different. We're at a studio. Hey, I'm pumped, us. I'm pumped. We've got a guest coming.
What's that? So no Morgs. Morgs is behind.
He's getting a diabetes test.
Yes, he is. He's got the cans on. So we're here at the Montague Hotel. Lovely here. Morgs had about 4 Palmers. He's gone through the wedges.
He went to Macca's to study.
He went to Macca's before to get for the free Wi-Fi. So we have a special guest coming on a little bit later, Jev. He's a big guest. We've been trying to get him on for a while, so we're super pumped to chat some footy. We know our fans are going to absolutely love it. So what we do want to touch on, though, so for anyone that is new for some reason, if we do have any new listeners now, we do try and turn $10 into 100K betting on the footy. We're yet to do it. We've been close a few times. Every single start of the show, we always like to review last week's multis. So, Jev, good legs, bad legs. So last week we did 12 out of 23 legs. So we only got about 50%, which is pretty tough when you've only got 2 games to bet on.
It was a tough week. So bad legs, we had Jason Horne-Francis over his line, over 20 and a half touches. He only had 19. He had 20 and a half cramps, but he had 19.
He did.
Massimo finally had a shocker. He went under his line.
Yep.
Connor McDonald didn't kick a goal. Cole Shadir only kicked 1 out of his 2.
They both had a mare, didn't they?
Sat in the bench for the last 15 minutes. Then in the Giants game, we took Callan Ward, he didn't kick 1. Darcy Jones, he didn't kick 1. Cam Rayner, he didn't kick 1. Finn Callahan went under his 23 and a half. He basically got concussed, hit in the head. He sat in the bench the last 10 minutes. James Peatling only had 10, kicked 2, but only had 10. And Lockie Neal only had 19 touches. We had his over. So it was a tough week. We went too many overs, but it's so hard to bet an under because you think every player's going to go. But
And any good legs that we had there?
Yes,
Surely there's a couple of good
some
ones.
good legs. Scrimshaw 15. The Wiz to kick 2.
Yes.
Kick 3.
Hater Nation again.
Jai Newcomb for 20 was cash.
Nice.
He had 31. Dylan Moore for 15.
Yep.
Jack Ginnivan anytime he kicked 2. Willie Rioli anytime. He was unbelievable. The Horn, Jason Horne-Francis, he had for anytime he kicked 1. Aaron Cadman for 1. Kai Lohman for 1. Charlie Cameron for 1. Toby Green for 2. And GWS plus 14 and a half, which looked home and hosed, and then they nearly cost it, but that was another good leg.
That was an absolute dogging. The
Gabe had
Giants
some good legs, but Gabe had some shockers.
Yeah, the Giants boys won't be sleeping for the next month. All right, now, Morgs, very excited to bring this one in. Guys, the listeners, if you've been watching this show for a while, we've had a few different segments, Jeff. We've had the Froth and Bubble, the Pyramid, which isn't back tonight, the Premiership Pie, the Mid-Season Mulligan, and now it's time for most to lose, most to gain. Jeff, with only 2 weeks to go and everything on the line, we want to know who has the most to lose. Can be anyone, a player, a team, a situation, ever. Who has the most to lose this week?
Most to lose for me is Chris Fagan, the Lions, the Brisbane Lions coach.
Yes.
How many opportunities do you keep getting? You need to win one.
Yeah, you do.
He just keeps going to the well and he keeps coming up short. He's the oldest coach in the league. Time's ticking. He's not going to be 70 still coaching. They're going to eventually move on. I reckon he's got most to lose this week. He needs to crack through to that grand final and win the game. So who have you got most to lose?
Most to lose, Jev. It's definitely not a pot anyone, but it has to be the Swans. John Longmire, if you could have written up as perfect season, it would be finish first. You could tail off the back end of the year, get a home prelim, which you've been talking about the whole season. You've finally got that. You've got a beaten up Port Adelaide. You think you're going to get straight into the grand final exactly as you've scripted it. You feel that with all these other coaches, you've got Dimmer Hardwick that's got 3, Chris Scott's got a couple. The fact that this is John Longmire's 5th grand final, and this isn't a knock on him. The only way that this will hurt his legacy is if you guys get blown out in one of the 2 games, which I don't think. But I think the biggest loser would be if the Swans could not win this flag. I think you guys are absolutely primed for it, and we can see the Giants have had such a good list for a few years, and they've got to go back to the well. I think this is such a perfect time for the Swans. That would be the biggest loser, and also the supporters as well. So who has the most to gain this week?
There's a few that came to the top of my head, but it has to be Australia's honesty broker, your favourite podcaster's favourite podcaster, None other than myself. Before the season, I tipped Carlton to miss the finals and to be a Brisbane-Sydney grand final.
Yeah, you did.
And Carlton should have missed the finals. But they embarrassed themselves in the finals. I all but got that tip right. Brisbane Swans grand final. Before the season, I win $3,000 if the Swans win the premiership from a bet, and I tipped it. I got 15-1 for it to be a Brisbane Swans grand final at the start of the season, so I win money on that as well.
You've got the most to gain.
I've got the most to gain this weekend out of anyone in the
I don't mind
AFL. Who have you got for most to gain?
I've got who you had most to lose. So I think Chris Fagan, we're not sure how much longer him or his gum has to go in this game. But when you look exactly how Brisbane were, so as I said before, Chris Scott's got 2, John Longmire's at least got 1, Dimmer's got 3, Craig McRae's come in and he's pinched 1. So when Chris Fagan took over the Lions, they were absolutely cheeks. So 2017, they finished 18th.
Yep.
2018, they finished 15th. So they had 10 wins in 2 seasons. Yeah. That's dog shit. Then 2019, semi-final. 2020, prelim. 2021, semi-final. 2022, prelim final. 2023, they lost in the grand final. Yep. He's been so good for so long. And I start to think, like, how much do you put on him or the players? Because he wasn't out-coached, I don't feel, last grand final. Like, they put everything into it. They lost by a kick. So I just think he's got so much to gain to actually almost bring a bit of peace to him. Like, he's finally got over the hump. He's won the grand final. I think he's got the most to gain out of this.
As I said, and the most to lose.
For sure.
I feel like he's on the biggest roller coaster of win or lose because the clock's ticking. He's got to win one. And this is... Lockie Neal's banged up. So, but we do agree, the Lions' future is... It's not going down.
No.
They got Levi Ashcroft coming out. They got 4 guys coming from an ACL, as you said. So they're going to be back again there next year, but they're bloody hard to win. You've got to cash in. And if it's not this year, Lockie Neal's going to be, 31, 32. Harris Andrews getting up there, so it is going to get tough. He needs to strike while the iron's hot.
So any in the comments, if you guys know, who do you think has the most to lose? Maybe Ken Hinkley. I think everyone's on the Ken Hinkley.
Yeah,
he's got a lot to.
He was going to be my
Who's got the most to gain?
Koshy came out and said Hinkley's job's safe. If they get blown out this weekend, you cannot believe that.
Like,
if they get embarrassed.
Could be like most of the game. Could be like Jason Horne-Francis. If he goes on, wins a flag and wins a Norm Smith, like, how much does that do for his career as a 22, 23-year-old? So
if Isaac Heeney wins Norm Smith,
Lockie Neal,
an all-time season danger.
We're going to get into the 100K now. There's only 2 games to work with, Jev. We do have a special guest, so we're not going to be going through everything. So we just thought we'd go through 4 markets. So we're going to have a forward, a mid, a back, and a line that we're looking at this week. We'll post our multi as normal. We'll actually do the reel. I'll do a bit of a green screen. But guys that are in the Patreon, they'll be sent the links for both games. As normal, that will come out Friday morning before the games get on, so you guys can jump on that if you want. Jev, give us a forward that you're looking at this week.
I can't go past Tom Papley, does.
No, you can't.
I can't go past Tom. We know his record on the SCG. Mm-hmm. The last time he didn't kick a goal on the SCG was the night Buddy Franklin kicked the 1,000.
Yes.
Round 2, 2022.
Yeah.
It's now the prelim final of 2024.
Yeah.
It's a lot of goals in a row. He kicked 2 against the Giants. He carried them against the Giants. No one likes the Swans' tools. Like, you compare the Swans, Amadi, McLean, and McDonald to the Dogs, Norton, Jamara, Darcy. Yep. Their job is to bring the ball to ground so Parker, Papley, Hayward can go to work.
The Dogs.
Watch Papley go to work when that ball hits that ground. We're going to take him for 2 in the 100K. I like him for 3. I like him for an all-time final 4. I wish you could bet on goal assists. I like him for 2 or 3. He was unbelievable against the Giants. I'm all over Tom Papley. Yeah, what about you, Das?
Jeff, I'll be taking one of our men from the fraternity, same as yours. We're going for another one of the small. So we've got Tyson Stangle. So pretty much take your pick. So for 2 goals at $1.81, as I said, we've only got 2 games here, Jeff. So I might need to back him for 3 at $3.60 or even 4 at $8.50. Now, I think we all rate Starcevic as a defender. I think he's really good at that lockdown for a bit of a mid-size. Like Toby Green, he does really well. But in my mind, it just has, on the small guys, he struggles. Bobby Hill in the grand final last year at the MCG, 4 goals to 18 touches. I just think Stangle is just primed to go nuts in this game. He's kicked 7 goals in his last 4 games against the Lions, but his last 3 finals he's played in. So he kicked 4 last week against Port.
Yeah.
In the grand final against you guys, he kicked 4. And in the prelim last time against Brisbane, he kicked 3 goals. He's a problem, and I think he's an absolute chance to kick a bag.
Star small forward. He's
Absolutely.
an absolute star small forward.
So for 3 snags, $3.60. For 4 snags, $8.50. For 5 is $21. And if he happens to kick a monster bag of 6, it's $71.
I love that 4 snags at $8.50.
Yeah,
I just think they win easy, don't they?
So do I.
Like, imagine we build the 100K around Tyson Stangle kicking 4. We're halfway there, basically.
They got him in to be this player.
Yes.
And he has been. He's absolutely done it. A midfielder that you're looking at.
Oh, I'm finding this one so hard. I know I went and looked at the last time we played Port Adelaide. Mm-hmm. Heeney got held well. Warner got held well. Goulden got held well.
Their hands on it, could they?
I don't think you can stop Isaac Heeney at the moment.
No.
I don't think you can stop. And whether it's whether it's 25 or it's 20 in a goal or it's 20 and 2. He had 30 and 3 against the Giants. It was an all-time final performance.
Did everything.
So if I just think he's going to get 20 touches, because I reckon Willem Drew might stand on him, or Ollie Wines did the job last time. He put himself on him. Have fun in the forward line, Ollie Wines. So we're taking Heeney, 20 in a goal, maybe even 20 and 2.
I like it.
Because he's in rare touch at the moment, like hot form.
Well, I think with that form, if he could do 30 and 3, why don't we just peg it back 10 touches and a goal? I think 20 and 2.
20 and 2 is right on the
just
radar.
feels like he's going to do that and go on the next week as well.
If he's doing that, like, then they got to look at him. Then Chad gets off the leash. Yep. So, yeah, but I'm going Heeney for sure. Who's your mid?
Just want to go Max Holmes. So, for 20 touches at $1.29, a lot of the touches are about $1.11. So, I wanted something a little bit more juicy. $1.29, anywhere around that is really good. So, he's pretty much the new leader of this midfield, and he's only gone under 21 times this year.
Yep.
So for $1.29, he's awesome. In the shit conditions earlier in the year against the Lions, he had 24, and last week against the Power, he had 28. And all his big games at the MCG this year, whether it's against Carlton, whether against Collingwood, even in a few of the losses, he's still had over 20 every single time. I just think the week off for them is going to be huge, and they're going to try and run Brisbane off their legs.
Yeah, there's another mid in that game. If we were doing a prelim weekend pyramid, right? The 21 players for the remaining prelim week.
Yep.
You can argue that Pat Dangerfield should just be the top of the pyramid.
You had a good call about this the other day about he's probably never been in your pyramid because he's always injured.
He's always injured. But like I was thinking about it today, who would you rather for one game? It's like LeBron James at the moment. For a whole season, he's not the best in the world anymore.
Playing tournament.
There's Jokic and there's Doncic and whatever. But for one game, fully fit, who do you want more than Pat Dangerfield? The way he taxed the footy in finals, like how good he was grand final day, how good he was last week.
Yeah.
He's like 20 touches. I don't know what we're getting for 20, but it is an absolute lock because he might have 2 more games in his career and he's just got a 5 or 2. There's no player I'd rather nearly than Pat Dangerfield this weekend. He's just so hard at the ball. He's rested. What's his line? 22.5. We are taking the over.
Yeah, it's $1.88.
We are taking the over.
May as well.
And if we're getting $1.80 for him to kick a goal, we're taking that as well.
Yeah, as you said, he's probably like the last week he took the piss. Yeah. Absolutely took the piss. Defender. So bear with me, guys. I'm going Zach Guthrie. I know this is slim pickings on the defenders because not too many have big markets. Braden Campbell I thought was a nice little one, but I messaged you, but you reckon you might be the sub. Yeah. $1.20. But Zach's last 3 games against the Lions, he's had 21, 18 and 19. But his last 5 finals, he had 27 2 weeks ago in the qualifying final against Port, 15 in the grand final against the Swans, 19 in the prelim against Brisbane, 17 in the qualifying final against Collingwood, and back in the 2021 prelim against Melbourne, he had 17. So in finals, Zach Guthrie doesn't go under.
Did you listen to Daniel Hoyne on Sports Day?
No, I haven't.
He's a top 10 finals player over the last 10 years
really?
On champion data. Zach Guthrie.
There you go.
He's with names of like... It's like Dane Swan, Pat Dangerfield, Zach Guthrie. That's how good he is.
That's fucking awesome.
It's a great call. It's a good call. My defender, I'm tossing up between 3. Nick Blakey, All-Australian. He's flying at the moment. Jake Lloyd has found himself a bit more out of defence and on a wing, and he's just a footballer does. Kicked 2 massive goals against the Giants.
They were good.
He just knows, he's just a footballer. He's played 1 million games on the SCG, just knows how to play football, basically.
Yeah.
I'm looking for him. 15 touch. I looked at him for 20. He's about $2 for 20. It's pretty bloody good value. Another one is Ollie Florent. Willem Drew goes to Chad. Wines goes to Heeney. Someone goes to Goulden. They're going to bring someone else up into that midfield. It's usually Ollie Florent off half-back. If we're getting good value for 15 or 20 touches, I want Ollie Florent for 15 in a big final at the SCG.
Yeah, so perfect, especially at home. And we're going to go either a result or an over-under bet. So that's where the line sits. So we said before, danger 22.5 for anyone that doesn't know what that is. So you can either take the over or under. You're going to get even money. I'm going to go Jez Cameron for his over disposal. So 16.5. It's another massive game. So his last 4 games, he's 3 out of 4. But if I'm riding on a bet, I'm happy with Jez being at 75. If he's hitting 75%, I think a big final at home. If it was anywhere else, I might not touch it. The fact it's at the MCG and they've had the week off. So we had 19 against Port, 18 against the Swans in the grand final, 12 against Brisbane in that prelim. But then before that, he had 17 against Collingwood. Remember, he kicked those unbelievable goals. I just think, look, over-unders are never easy, but Jez Cameron, you can just see him ripping this apart.
For sure.
Absolutely. So I'll be taking him for the over-under.
Peaking at that one, like I'm going to take the danger over 22.5 for sure. And I'm taking Swans win head-to-head. Absolutely primed. I know it's only $1.30. It's not a proper line. The line's 20.5. It's a little much for a prelim final, but I will take the Swans head-to-head $1.30. as an absolute lock of my life. I'm going to be there, Das.
Yes, you
It's
are.
the most excited I've ever been. I'm going to the SCG. Me and Morgs are going to be there. The Swans are going to win, and they're going to put on a show for the Showtime Swans are going to put on a show for everyone. So
very exciting. All right, so on the other side of the break, we've got a very special guest to come help us to preview the rest of the prelim finals and have a little bit of a chat, bit of a ramble. So we'll see you in a minute. All right, beautiful. Joey, thanks for joining us. We're here at the lovely Montague Hotel here in South Melbourne, celebrating the finals. We are here for prelim final week. We're going to do a little bit differently this week. Thanks for joining us. Obviously, we've just heard you've come off a pretty heated 360 episode.
Yeah, King and Robbo just exchanged a few words over Chris Fagan, but it's all good fun.
I can't wait to watch it.
So
I can't wait.
What we're going to ask you for, so we go through every week, we try and turn $10 into $100 betting on the footy. Now, we know that you probably can't talk about betting, so we've gone through some players that we're looking at for this week. We just want to know if you can give us a forward, a mid, and a defender that you might be looking at to have a big game this week. I've gone Stangle for goals, Max Home for around 20-plus touches, I think. Big part of the leadership group there, and he's just going to run through it. And Zach Guthrie for 15 hasn't gone under his last 5 finals. Is there any player that you might be looking at this week?
I'll tell you one.
Either game.
Yeah, I'm really liking the way Willie Rioli's playing. So what they've done with Willie Rioli, since he came back from injury late in the season, they're just basically playing him close to goal because he can't really run. He's struggling with his fitness, Willie, but he's a talent, and he's been kicking goals, and he's got a really good finals record, Willie Rioli. So I wouldn't be surprised if he kicks 2 or 3. He's going to have his hands full because Cunningham's been doing a great job as a lockdown, but I reckon Willie Rioli playing deep will kick some goals.
He was unbelievable the other night.
Yeah.
How clean he was and everything. It stood out off TV, yeah.
And he played some pretty good finals footy a couple of years ago as well. So I like the way that he goes about it. So Willie for some goals.
Forward, midfielder, you think it's going to have a big game?
To be honest, I think Zach Butters. I think he's due.
I like that.
I know that he's had a couple of quiet weeks. I'm giving Port Adelaide a bit of a chance in this one. I think that they can potentially cause an upset. So if they are I presented some stuff on 360. If you watch the watch list, and I think that Zachy Butters just has to have a big one. Now he's been quiet. We know he's got the sore ribs. I'm just banking on 3 weeks or 4 weeks ago that he had the injury, that he's just come good. And if that's the case, I'll be getting back on him to getting 25, 30 touches.
Now, Joe, I'm a mad Swan supporter. I'm going up to the SCG.
Yeah, right.
You can't be telling me this stuff.
No.
Isn't James Jordan going to go straight to Zach Butters?
I don't know. Do you reckon he will, or does he go to Horn Francis?
No, he's not strong enough for Horn Francis. I reckon James Rowbottom sits on Horn Francis.
Yeah, okay. So you reckon
Because
James
Jordan can run. I reckon it's going to be Wines and Heeney. It's going to be Chad.
Nah, Willem Drew will go to Heeney. Willem Drew has to tag Heeney. You got to try and stop Willem Drew. You got to try and stop Isaac. I just think that Heeney's the one you've probably got to go to with Willem Drew, or he could sit out in the wing on Goulden. Sydney should win. Don't worry, they're in the box seat. But I'm telling you, I'm just saying this will be a lot closer. Port Adelaide will make this an arm wrestle.
No, I agree.
They'll make this a low scoring scrap. I'm just going to bank on Zachy Butters, even if he does get tagged, to work through it and get some big numbers.
I love that. And a defender. Any defender you think is going to have a good game?
I don't think Dane Zorko will get tagged. Geelong won't tag Dane Zorko. I think they'll just play their half forwards on him. He might get a few kicked on him, Dane Zorko, but I think that he'll get stack of footy. So he'll get 30 touches.
He
halfback.
He worked his way into the game last week so well. Now, before we get into the last little bit,
Got to get a premiership. Who's winning the flag?
I don't even know who's winning the prelims.
let's go prelims first. You have to go.
I'm going to go. I'm Sydney Geelong Grand Final.
Yep. And then don't break his heart.
Is it going to be the same as 2022?
Cats are going to win. Can you believe if the Cats win the flag?
We got on them at 12.
Really?
What changed the Swans? Everything. When it was about 7 minutes before halftime of the 2022 grand final, and Isaac Heeney had 1 possession. It's like, he's our most talented player. This can never happen again.
Yeah.
So ever since then, it's just like, nah, you're a midfield now. Get you around the ball. Get the best players around the ball. Yeah. It'll be different.
Of course, it's going to be different. It's not going to be 2022 all over. They're not going to get beaten by 70 at half time.
It's like, nah, you're too much talent to be have 1 possession at half time in a grand final.
Yeah.
Get your best players around the ball. But I was saying before, 1 game, you still nearly take danger. It's like LeBron James. If it's 1 game for your life, you nearly take danger.
And he's been rested, like he's primed. He's only played half a season. He's fit. Dangerfield grand final day is a scary proposition. Geelong, just their coach, the way they play, it stacks up.
I love it.
Sydney, they just haven't been the same since early in the year. And maybe when you talk about Nick Dacos masking a lot of Collingwood's problem, you look back and you go, what Warner, Gordon and Heaney have done this year is like it's off the charts.
They won the first 10 games.
It's like was ridiculous the levels they're playing at. Now that they've sort of come back and Sydney have come back. Sydney are still a really good team, but they're certainly not a dominant team. And if it's at the MCG, I tell you what, go and have a look at the record of Victorian teams v interstate teams in grand final day. Not many of them get up and win.
West Coast in 2018. That's about it.
Well,
Norm Smith medalist.
You get Norm Smith medal.
We're the best odds this weekend. So
yeah, right. Okay. Max Holmes.
Max Holmes.
Oh, if he does, I've got to do something. What was that bet? If I said if he wins the Gary Ayres medal.
I said the same about Dane Zorko, and he's leading it at the moment.
Max Holmes, $21. That is nice.
I didn't see the vote. Who polled the votes in the Gary Ayres medal for? Did Dane Zorko poll some?
He polled 4.
Did he?
Yeah.
Yes.
Jeez, he was getting his ass handed to him at half time.
Yeah. So
he turned it down. He did.
So Heeney's favourite. He's on 10, 350. Zorko's on 14 at the moment at 450. Max Holmes on 10 votes as well, $8.
I'm not
Just for the Gary Ayres medal.
I'm not saying this was you, but if you're a bit of an older sort of halfback like Dane Zorko,
yep.
Do you just and you lose and do you just go fuck it and you just start running forward?
Yeah,
and you
I played my last few years as an old slow halfback and couldn't defend. That was the role. And you just hand over to someone, you give someone else the job. Yeah.
Just
and you get forward, and that was great. That was what they need to do. Brisbane, they need to take the risks and roll the dice. And Zorko's like, fuck it, I'll do it.
Can Brisbane beat the Cats this weekend?
Yeah, they can.
I think they can. They can.
That's a 50-50 game. To be honest, I think they're both genuinely 50-50 games. I would not be surprised with any result. And after the year we've had, would you be surprised with any result?
If it's Port Brisbane, though, I'll lose my mind.
Yeah, and that could happen.
So we obviously go over our Brownlow. We have our 4-hour Brownlow show that we're going to be doing on Monday. We go live. So we go through. We have one of our mates, Matt Dickey, the Brownlow Shark. He does every vote throughout the year. So he pretty much gets it bang on every single time. So the top 5 he has... Actually, I'll ask you, who do you have winning the Brownlow?
Well, tell me how close I am because I haven't seen this. My theory is that it will be close up until the last few weeks, and then I think Dacos and Cripps do break away because Bont doesn't, I don't think, sort of polls late in the season. Sarong, Zach Merritt, they all sort of drop away. So I think it's Cripps, Dacos. I think that no doubt Dacos gets the 3 votes round 23 against Richmond. Yeah. He takes the lead, and then it's going to be they're going to build it up for the final game of the season, Carlton v St Kilda. P. Cripps. Now, I was at the game. He dominated the third term, and he was probably Carlton's best. Nick Newman played well. There was no real standouts for St Kilda, but Saints got the win. He could get 1, 2, or 3 votes in that game, and that'll determine whether he wins or whether it's a tie. What do you think? What's the...
Well, we've got Sarong on 24 votes.
Yep.
Bont, 27. Heeney, obviously ineligible, on 29. Neil, 31. Dacos, 32. Cripps, 34.
There you go. So Cripps might get 2 or 3 in the last
round. The draw on 33... Dacos gets a vote he shouldn't. Cripps doesn't get a vote.
And that's going to happen. See, that's where there's going to be a game where it's going to get skewed, like the Lockie Neal happened to him last year. Yeah. Lockie Neal will probably poll 10 best on grounds as well. So he's the one that'll probably.
Are you a big Brownlow fan?
Always loved the Brownlow. Yeah, always loved it.
Was it good going?
Yeah, I did enjoy it. I was one of those footy heads, so I loved it. Great story. So what we had in our contracts when we played, if you got in the top 10 of the Brownlow, you got a bonus, $50K bonus.
That's nice.
It was a good bonus. I'm not going to say that doesn't matter now. It was a long time ago. And Brendan Goddard and I, late in the season, we were doing the numbers. We were both close to getting into the top 10, and we both had the same bonus, and we both thought we played well the last game of the year. So we were waiting to see who was getting the votes, and if one of us got 3 votes, we would have jumped with 16 votes and got us in the top 10. They were the days when 30-odd votes didn't really count. It was more in the high 20s. And the votes came out, and Al Hayes 1 vote, Endel Sano 2 votes, and waiting for the 3 votes, and El Montagna got the 3 votes. So it was a big night for me. Couldn't celebrate because we were playing in the grand final that week, but it was a nice Brownlow camp. Good way to celebrate.
That is so good.
Are the stories true about if anyone on the table gets a vote, you'll finish your beer?
Yeah, that got stupid. Yeah, when you weren't playing in it, when you go and your team aren't playing in the grand final, you do all those drinking games, or at the start of the night you get given 2 names, and if they poll votes, you have to drink. And
who's the best you've ever seen?
Fev ruined it a number of years ago where he got. I think it might have been when he carried on the footy show, and then they stopped serving drinks during the count. You had to wait for the ad break, so you'd hold your beer until the ad breaks. But then in the ad breaks, it became a shit show because every table was like calling the waiters over. Yeah. So in the end, we learnt little tricks like you slip the waiter 50 at the start of the night and say, just make sure you look after this table and those sorts of things. So it did get a bit hard. No, we always had good fun if we weren't playing in it.
Last little bit on the Brownlow. So the Shark, he had 4 weeks ago. So he goes through every single team so you can see who gets the most votes per side. He had Rowan Marshall as St Kilda's best votes. So that was at $4.50 4 weeks ago. He's now into clear favourite. So it was $4.50. Now he's $1.26. Is there anyone as a smoky that you feel might win their team's most votes? Like, for example, can Ben Keys win it from Adelaide? So you got Jordan Dawson. He's $1.05. We don't think he's had that good
a year.
So Keys is at $21, which we think is unbelievable. Is there anyone for any side, maybe off the top of your head, you reckon's had a good sneaky year?
Yeah, so you got Tom Green's $1.05. What about
Josh Kelly early in the year had a good start of the year, but he missed too much footy.
Jesse Hogan 11-1?
Jesse Hogan. The only thing I think now with the Brownlow, and I do believe that the umpires for a while there were sneaking some peeks at the stats. Now I believe they've probably clamped down and they're not. So what it means...
Yeah, I heard that they were allowed to...
They say, if you ask them officially, they say they can't look at the numbers.
You know when they're at three-quarter time at the end of the game, they're walking off?
Yeah, they would. You're allowed to look at that. I just think in the rooms they're not. So maybe they do. So the numbers do favour the mids, and I do think they lean towards the big guns.
That's the other one. So if you look at Port Adelaide, how well Jason Horne-Francis polled last year. So
yes,
remember, you're not talking about the odds here.
Yes.
We are.
Yep.
Butters is $1.20. Horne-Francis is $6.
Yeah, Horne-Francis can poll a lot of 3 voters. Yeah,
I couldn't believe
he could get 7. He could have 7 games where he gets the 3 votes.
Bloody good player.
Yeah, but Zach Butters, he's going to poll well.
I hope so. Here was my tip for the start of the year. Joey, thanks for helping us with that preview. We hang around, have a bit of a ramble
Love
up.
to.
Beautiful, awesome. So thank you for that. That's this week's episode. Join in next week as we do have a little bit of a longer chat with Joey. Cheers.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call 1-800-858-858 or visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.